Hey YouTube, welcome back. Hopefully you're watching my series because this is going to be part 3 of my Ruger Mark IV 22 LR Tactical Pistol series. In this part, what we're doing is we're adding the red dot and a direct mount. And if you haven't seen the other two videos, I recommend you watch them. Part 2, I added the records and internals. This is the accurizing kit, so it's the 4 internals, the hammer assembly, trigger assembly, disconnector, stuff like that. And I also deleted the right side of the safety. In part 1, what I did was I just was talking about my general concept, what I plan on doing, my future upgrades, and I did a little bit of shooting in part 1 as well. So, getting on, what I'm going to do is take off the top Picatinny mount. It's a 1913 rail. It is aluminum. I'm taking that off and I'm going to be replacing it with a direct mount. This is from Lobos Industries. It's a direct mount that fits any RMR footprint. They do make several different optic cuts. But notice how these front posts correspond with these. These function as a recoil post to make sure that when you install them, that this is facing forward, because it is technically possible to mount it backwards. And then obviously your red dot would be backwards, so try to avoid that. One thing I want to show you as well, these are the screws that come with the Lobos mount. Notice how one is much longer than the other one. That's because when you mount the optic, notice how one side is open, because this is the shorter screw. It's going to be going over the ejection port, so you don't want a long screw impeding, injected shells. But I'll show you more of what I'm talking about in a minute. Put this over here. A little bit about the holosun. Has a lot of core technology. Has a changeable reticle, which you may not be able to see unless I focus. Did it for a second. You got the idea, but this is currently set up on the circle dot reticle, so similar to the EOTech, and I can change it to a dot only, so 2 MOA dot. I can change it to a circle only. Let's see. Basically, this is just a circle only, so if you want to go fast, I've heard people recommend this because you can just put the open circle in your target, and gives you a really big reference point. And back to usual. It has solar power technology. It has shake awake. It has a side loading battery. All these are pretty innovative features. And also comes in about half the price of competing optics in terms of name brand, like the Trigger RMR, the SOL, stuff like that. So pretty nice optic. One thing I don't like is how it uses a 16, I think it's a 1632 battery, sorry. It's a new battery, so I'm going to have to, stock up on extra compared to just having a stockpile of CR 2032 batteries that I already have. So it's kind of a weird feature, but it still retains that long battery life. It's a 50,000 hour battery life for the 2 MOA red dot. On setting 6, so I don't know if that's a medium setting, probably is, but I'm sure the battery is going to be adequate, compared to other ones. So yeah, let's get started. So I'm going to take off. Let me refocus back on here. I'm going to get started, take things off. I just have an Allen bit or an Allen screw. An Allen screwdriver. Okay, these are on pretty good, so let's do it the short side. I will be installing this on camera. If you do want to skip ahead and see what it's like installed, you're very welcome to do so. Or if you just want to spend, the maybe 5 minutes or so it takes me to install, So I got it loosened. Let me leave these off to the side. One thing to keep in mind is when you delete the rail, you are gonna have an open slot. I'll show you what I'm talking in a minute. So the rail's off. Let's take a look. So this is the factory installed rail. Let me wipe it off. There's a little bit of oil underneath. And in general, what people do, what they recommend to do, was to decrease it, because I've heard people complain that the rail has loosened under recoil after extended firings. It is pretty greased, not greased, but oiled underneath. So I'd probably go back, if you plan on keeping the rail, to take it off and Loctite it. There was a little bit of Loctite on the threads. Let's see if I can show you. You see that blue Loctite? It was on all of them, just a bit. So it's not bad, One thing I'm immediately noticing is how dinged up the slide is. Is that a good angle? So you see the finish, scratched up. On the side. Scratched up. When I mount my optic, it's going to cover up a little bit, but it's still going to be noticeable that you can see. So kind of a shame. It's a shame how it's scratched up already. I do know this was for me from when I transported it to the range the first time, but once you scratch it up the first time, you don't care so much, but this is kind of from the factory. It came all dinged up, so kind of a shame. What I was mentioning before was these are the screws that attach the rail to the slide. Let's see if I can't. And obviously, it's not going to go back in. It's going to be hanging out like that. So going to have to contact Ruger and see if they won't send out a couple replacement filler screws that will cover up these holes, because the red dot mount is only going to take, it's only going to replace 2 of these screws. So put this on. Let me set this down, put a little bit of Loctite on. And I'll put it on all the screws just to make it a little bit faster. Okay, so a little bit on the screws, a little bit in the recesses. Helps you, that's just the way I do it. And the reason I still have the slide mounted onto the frame, it's just so I have something to grip onto. It's a little bit trickier to do it on camera, but yeah, if you want to disassemble, you can. I just have mine currently installed. Doesn't change much. So Lobos Industries recommends that when you mount the screws for the mount to the slide, that's 10 inch-pounds. I'm just going to do hand tight and then, another quarter turn. Press down, make sure you don't slip off. These are Torx for the for this screw, so better design than a typical Allen head. There's that. Notice how minimalist it is. You avoid having the Picatinny rail. You avoid having a clamp, big and bulky. This gives you just what you need, and you can always go back to it if you need to. So it's not a permanent modification. just very minimal, direct mount, and that's what I'm going for. So to the optic, that's what it's gonna look like. And put these to the side. We're not using these screws. So notice how you have the mount, there's the hole. It's going down and it's going to be flush to here. That's going to be the shorter screw. You have 2 sets of screws. The shorter one goes on the right side. Take a look. Just taking a second to clean it off, so I have a pretty good permanent install. Bear with me. Okay, good. See if I can't do it hand tight. I do have the same screwdriver Allen wrench you're using to install or to remove the Picatinny rail. It's the same bits that you use to install this one. So just get it going. And then let's get the other one going too. Just push down and forward as I tighten this down. Push down. And I'm just going to tighten it down as much as I can, hand tight, using the long side. You don't want to, Lobos recommends 10 pounds for the mount to the slide and then 7 pounds for the red dot to the mount. So 7 pounds is pretty light. I'm just going to tighten as much as I can. Push down with the long end. That will keep me from stripping it and doing over torquing. 7 pounds is pretty light. Push down. There it is. That's what I have. I removed the bulky Picatinny rail and the extra tall Picatinny clamp that would come like that. And now I have a direct mount for any arm or footprint, and I currently have the holosun installed. I'll see if I can't touch this up, and I'll also have to follow up with Ruger, see if they will send me extra screws to replace that. But nice minimalist design. Got the red dot. Have it installed. Nice. Stay tuned for part 4, where I add a light and I also talk about my holster selection. And then part 5 will eventually be me talking about my silencer. Thanks for watching. I'm very excited. Let me show you the other side as well. So the screw, you can see a little bit of Loctite coming out. Let me wipe that off. Just needs to go in the threads. But you can see how it's flush. This is usually stainless color, but there's still a little bit of Loctite. But it's not poking out anything. If you would use a longer bit, it would actually be sticking out. So shorter and longer, the more you know. And I do recommend this Lobos mount. It's a very minimalist. I think it's an excellent design. It looks pretty cool. Thanks for watching.